Hello, hello, hello. Nice to be here for another live. I'm gonna wait for a few people to connect if they are. Let's see what the delay is on my screen. All right, I've got it up. So today, what are we gonna be talking about? I was super inspired / motivated by my mentor to do a Facebook Live on our monkey mind and mastering and what I have done to kind of take a new take on this, the interactions, the relationship, and the cloudiness, the kind of anxiety that our mind causes us, either subconsciously, unconsciously, or just super loud, and we aren't even aware that it's going on. And even as I start this video, I want to make sure that I can see the comments if they're rolling in. Say hi if you're on. I'd like to know who's on. Okay, so yeah, even like in rolling up to actually starting this video, I could feel the mind kind of getting all of the fear, and that was felt in the body. But it was like this excited, scared kind of mixture, because to do a video like this is really, hey James, I want to make sure I can see these comments as they're rolling in. Hey, James, let me just make sure I can see these comments as they're rolling in. Sorry. All right, well, I just have to maybe scroll. So, yeah, so there was some fear about doing this, because there is a difference, I feel, that I've come to in myself, of kind of the philosophical angle of sharing ideas and the energy of being a teacher. And I feel like I have kind of had a stigma on that energy, on being a teacher, because I didn't like that, the approach of the right and wrong of being a teacher. Like a teacher is saying, like, this is true and this is the way it's taught, and that was the way kind of like school was, that it occurred to me in school from teachers, where they were telling me how it was. I wasn't like allowed to have like an opinion, and it was just like this authoritative energy that I didn't really enjoy. And so it's been a process. It's been a journey, of course, to arrive at, like, you know what? I have a lot of ideas, and if the teacher energy will best represent them for maximum impact, then maybe that is an energy that I have to assume, because stepping into being a coach and transforming people and sharing my ideas at thought leading, on the edge of thought leadership, I have to be willing to really feel like my ideas have value, and that they're important, and that they can help people. And I truly do believe that. And so today will hopefully be the first video of many, where I get to share some of the ideas that I've had, kind of being a metaphysical scientist of my own mind, of my own energy, and the way that I work through some of my neuroticisms and insecurities and anxieties and worries. And I have some notes here. I like to be as spontaneous and improvisational as possible. Like, that is just the way that I like to approach things. But I also feel like just having some sort of some sort of structure so that I don't get too off topic, because definitely with my wild imagination, I can get off topic and totally derail into who knows where. So I have these thoughts here that that's where I'm going to be looking down at. But of course, I want it to be collaborative. And if you have any questions, I have the comments here. And then if you're watching this later, please feel free to reach out and ask me questions. I've got this hooked up so that I can do some drawing as well if we get to that. So where are we? We are approaching, trying to get a bigger picture grasp on what our mind is and what this monkey mind is. I think that is one of the most popular phrases for how we kind of have this relationship with this bickering, stressful, loud, noisy stuff that happens in our mind. All of our thoughts, all of the chaotic thoughts, all of the stressors and worries and regrets, and basically all of that action that's happening up in the mind. I want to try to paint a big picture so that you can kind of see it from a new angle, and so that you can start to feel more empowered to not let it affect you as much, because you have raised your level of self-awareness and your vibration enough so that you're kind of being lifted above some of those struggling thoughts that constantly bother you, or keep you in fear, or patterns, or cycles. Like we think about it like that, where it's the things that are constantly affecting your energy throughout the day, the things that are draining your energy, the things that are just not preferred for you, the things that you don't want, that are constantly there, that you think maybe you have to be complacent to, or whatever it is, the stress, the anxiety, So what I'm gonna do here, and it's gonna be funny for people that are just joining when I'm gonna be in the flow of, but I'm gonna just do an experiment here where I'm gonna start to just riff off the type of thoughts that I hear when I kind of assume the position of hearing what this monkey mind actually is. Because I think it will take a level of vulnerability. Like I can already feel like a little bit of a hesitation to do this, because hi Allison, because how do I want to say this? Because these are some of the thoughts that are just so enchained by us that we don't want other people to hear, that we're dealing with up here, or we're not even listening to it, but it's just constantly there, this like self-conscious bullshit that we have. And so I'm just going to try to take a second and breathe into allowing some of these negative self-judgment thoughts to come up. And you can tell me if you've experienced this, or if like you get a new perspective on, oh shit, like I do hear that, and I didn't even realize I heard that. And so let's for the new people that join, I'm gonna be just doing a riff on kind of what this monkey mind conversation is, and how negative and self-judgmental it is. So you don't know what you're talking about. What makes you think you have information to offer to other people? You suck. You don't deserve to do this. I hope you screw up. You're not going to know what to say. I can't believe you're doing this. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Why are you doing this? You're such a fraud. You're never going to be able to do what you want to do. You should just give up now. You're a joke. You're boring them. What makes you think you could do this? What makes you think you could be happy? I hate this. Bad things are going to happen if you express yourself. Nobody's going to love you. You're going to be alone. None of this matters. Ooh. Ooh. So, yeah. Wow. You can start to see the insanity of this monkey mind that is kind of controlling our life if you're not aware to it, and if you're not kind of empowered enough to not listen to these disempowering things that our mind is saying about us, and to have a choice whether or not to choose better thoughts and to heighten. Hi, Lucia. Man, you just missed some intense monkey mind channeling. Anyways, so how can we kind of all of the monkey mind things that are really negative and really energy draining, energy weight. So all of the things that lead us to depression and hopelessness and insecurity and unworthiness, like all of those things are these negative thought patterns that, because we don't see our choice to change them or to actually just look at them without having the charge of the emotion affect us, they're going to constantly keep running like a computer program. It is these computer programs that we picked up that really create these thought patterns in us. The shame thoughts, the I'm not good enough thoughts, the I have no value to offer thoughts, the people are going to hate me thoughts, all of this self-judgment, all the negative things. Like, we have to start to get an idea of, in our situational awareness of where we are in the present moment, what these thoughts actually are. And so if you have never heard of the emotional guidance system, since I don't know like who's going to watch this later, what kind of level of awareness you have around this, like this might be blowing your mind to actually see that this monkey mind is actually happening and you didn't even know it. And now that you know it, it's like, oh shit, you just leveled up kind of your awareness. But what I want to show you is something called the emotional guidance scale or emotional guidance system. And when I saw this, it was like a game changer of how to understand the machine of the mind in a better, more empowering way. And like that was all my research was like, I wanted it to be better. I wanted my experience to be better. and I wanted to not be so negative. I didn't want a negative world anymore. I wanted more positivity. And I think that's what we all want. So when we look at what this emotional guidance system is, and we all have one. This is kind of the how do we describe this? It is how our mind body functions and how positivity and negativity, the kind of the game of duality, plays out in our human experience, is through this emotional guidance scale. And I'm going to show it to you here if I can just screen share. All right. So you see this on the screen? Yep. Okay. So this is the emotional guidance scale. And now we can start to get a really clear sense of upward spiral and downward spiral, because if we're unconscious, if we're unconscious to what is happening in our emotions and what they're actually communicating to us, and to become empowered to not let our emotions control us, but to let them guide us to better and better feeling thoughts. So we can see that the downward spiral is all of the things that we know are all the negative, leading to the depression and the fear, insecurities, the shames, all of that. And the upward spiral are all the things that make us feel good, empowered, passionate, optimistic, joy, knowledge, freedom. All of those things are on the upward trajectory. So I'm going to switch back to myself here. All right, so how does this work? Our emotions are actually telling us how resonant we are with our own truth, with our own subjective or personal truth. When we have a good feeling, when we're feeling good emotions, when we're on the upward spiral, our emotions feel good, right? So that is our emotional guidance system telling us we are in truth. We are in alignment with our soul, with our empowerment. We're in alignment. We're in our flow when we're feeling good. And what we don't realize is when we have feelings that don't feel good, when we have emotions that are on the downward spiral, they are telling us how out of alignment we are with our truth. So if you could just take that one piece of information, you would have the ammo to really look at the next time you're experiencing anything, or if you're experiencing something now that is not preferential, and actually look at it of like, this emotion that I'm feeling right now doesn't feel good. Thus, it is not true. And if we have that honesty with ourselves, we can start to move our way up the ladder of the emotional guidance scale. It's an incredibly powerful tool, incredibly powerful, because it's the way we're actually communicating with our inner being, the way that it lets us know if our thoughts are in alignment or out of alignment. When we get too out of alignment, think about it like if I had this right here and I put a rubber band around it, and maybe if I had one next time, I'll do it. If I had a rubber band around here, when I'm not pulling it, I'm closer to center, present, and I'm closer to my power. But when I pull the rubber band, it starts to stretch. That's when we start to feel the tug of emotions that don't feel good, the bad emotions, because we're getting further and further away from our true nature. And we start to feel that tug and that pain, because we're just getting further and further away from our truth. So I hope that makes sense, because that is a very important piece of our human mind and our experience that really helps us empower what we don't like, because we can start to see where we are and then where we want to be. All right, so Now let's take a look at how this all fits with maybe some diagrams that I'll do. I'm going to throw around kind of the dimensions here because I don't want to get too lost in because a lot of people have different interpretations of how this all works, and they're different naming things and all of that stuff. But for now, I'll use just 3D, the third dimension, 3D, for our body, right? So the physical, 3D. And then when we talk about our mind, now we're talking about 4D because it's happening, we think it's happening in our brain, but that it's a dimension that is not in the physical. And I think that's a really important thing to say, because having that distinction between 3D body and mind body being 4D, we can start to now finally take a look at it with more self-awareness to actually see it for what it is. And so, let's see, when do I want to draw here? And let's not forget that the goal of why and how we are mastering the monkey mind is actually to get to a state of peace, right? To feel calm. And at the furthest kind of practice of it, once you have the intent to really master it, is to have quote unquote no mind. And that is the kind of what we hear in the enlightenment and the spiritual side of like why you meditate, is to get to that calm presence where there is no mind and there's just like the space and there's the Zen. That's exactly what this is pointing to. So let me share. How do I want to do this? Let's just roll with it. So I got my whiteboard here. All right. So let me just double check that this is coming up. Awesome. All right. So we look at it like, change this to black. So we have 3D is the body, and then 4D is the mind. This is the first time I'm using this tool, so I want to make sure this is all coming up clear. Awesome. Cool. So now we can start to get a sense of, all right, so we're kind of leaving the body to try to connect with what the mind is, because when we're identified with the monkey mind and the monkey mind is controlling our life, we're not actually connected to the body. We are in our thoughts. We are lost in thoughts, thoughts, worries, stresses, what else? Anxieties, regrets, shames, fears, doubts, disbelief. So we all know what that is like when we're kind of lost in our thoughts, and our thoughts are chaotic, chaos, noisy, monkey mind. Right? Okay. So if we really take this and we can start to see it clearly, that when we are lost in the mind and all of these things, and if you know dimensions, that this is all time. Okay? So when we're in anxiety, we're in, so let's say that the present. Okay. So when we're in time, we are assuming that we are this linear line between the past and the future. And these are where we get lost in past memories and traumas or future anxieties, and all the whole time we're avoiding actually being present to the present moment because we're lost in the mind, which is time, linear time. Linear time. So does that make sense? I hope. Cool. So why is it important to see this? Because we've started to get more of a wrapper, a container of what the mind is. Because if we're not aware of what the mind is, then we're going to think that it is bigger than who we really are when we're in power. So how do we kind of extrapolate this into what I was saying before and showing you with this emotional guidance scale is we add I mean, you guys all did high school math, right? So this is the x-axis, right? So all we do is we start to add the y-axis to start to get a clearer sense of what we're actually dealing with here. Okay, so same present moment. But now, what is this y-axis then? This is your, how should I put this? Frequency. So when we all talk about raising our vibration, we start to see that those are on the y-axis of our moment. That is our frequency, and then we can start to plot the downward spiral stuff. Oops. Downward spiral. Upward spiral. And we can start to see more clearly where we are on our frequency, in our vibration. Okay, so let me switch back. Cool. Oh, we got some new people joining. Say hi. All right. So when we start to see clearly where we are on our emotional scale, and we can see, actually, I'm going to put this back because I think it's better. Share screen, whiteboard. Cool. Hi, Sarah. Let me know if you guys have any questions. When we add the time element into this, because too often we start to just think that, oh, I'm experiencing this feeling and there's nothing I can do about it because it just has to play. And that might be the case, but once we start to get the time element in here, and we can start to see that where in time our thoughts are. Where in time our thoughts are. So let me see how I want to draw this. So let's say we have this feeling of anxiety or worry for this future scenario in 2 weeks. Let's say whatever, doesn't matter. This future scenario that is just causing all of this anxiety and worry. Okay? And now we can start to see it more visually when you draw the thought that you're in. So what color should I do this in? I'll do it in blue. So switching to, let's see, how can I do this? Switching to the emotional guidance scale again. So you see, like, wherever we think, like, worry is kind of right there, or maybe it's worse than that, but let's just say it's right there, okay? So then we go back to the whiteboard. And so worry is like down here, right? And all we have to do is draw the thought and see it where it is, and start to see it with more clarity of how much time is actually contained within that thought. Once we can start to see how much time is contained in that thought, that the thought is containing all of this time, and that's why it doesn't feel good, because again, that rubber band analogy that I was doing, we're just tugging at our present moment to these thoughts that are actually untrue. And when we can see it clearly where we stand within the whole picture of, oh, but there's actually so many better feeling thoughts up here that I could be having that I'm just not aware of. And suddenly we start to feel more relief from the worry and the anxiety that is plaguing us. And that's all by knowing kind of where on the frequency axis we are. So I hope that makes sense, because it is really powerful for giving you a situational awareness on what your mind is versus what you are, which is actually the infinite container for all of these experiences to happen. But when we, let's see, no, I don't want to get into that. All right. So, but when we identify with it, then that is when it brings our energy down and we can't get out of it because we can't see it clearly. It's clouding our vision of who we actually are. And so when we have these cycles, so let's see. When we are unconscious or don't see our choice, these cycles and patterns will continue to run our life when we don't have the clarity to actually look with clear eyes at what is actually in front of us. We just kind of like, I can't see, it's too much, like we start to cower like that, and become disempowered because we're identifying with the ego part of us, the smaller aspect of us, instead of the larger aspect of us. And I feel like I could go into more stuff there, but I'm worried it's going to be too much. Let's see. Hi, Tanya. Just missed some cool diagrams. I'll put it back up in a little bit. So I hope that helped you kind of see where your vibration is, and then the site of where you want it to be, because that, when you have those two marks, then you could start to launch your rocket to get higher. Again, and it's by the emotional guidance scale, by constantly upping your trajectory of where you want to be and not being complacent to how things are. Cool. So let's see what else. I'm going to go into thoughts. How I kind of diagram thoughts in a different way. That might help you guys see what I'm talking about more clearly. So I'm going to clear all drawings. All right, so if we are imagining like, Sarah, good question. Let's see, how do I want to answer this? So what I meant by rocket was when we're stuck, like a lot of people talk about being stuck, unable to change or too afraid to take a risk, or stuck in the same patterns, held down, depressed, constricted, whatever the language is. Let me take this off. What I mean by the rocket is when we're so held down by our monkey mind. Hi, Nicole. When we're so held down by our monkey mind, it's actually like we're just solidified in it, and we're not connected to our body, and we have no sense of lightness to our experience. It's just all very heavy. There's no lift. There's no, I want to say this, man. We all know that what that feeling is like, but what I'm saying with the rocket is when you are on that positive upward vibe, it is almost like that passion is lighting a fire under your ass so that you are actually feeling lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter until you feel the flight of your imagination just carrying you through the flow of your life, because you're in alignment and you're feeling good and there's no negativity that is holding your vibration down. So when I say rocket, I mean like your frequency is so high that you feel like you're accelerating and that you're lifted off into your dream and into your awesome life, and the flow is taking you places and yeah, I hope that answers your question. I hope it does. I think it should. So no access to the launching pad when in monkey mind, LOL. Yes, yeah, because if we're so identified with time, like I did a little diagram of it, or so identified with what our thoughts are saying, because that's like, oh, what does he think about me? What are they going to think about me? All of those fears, all of those things that are not serving us anymore, all of those like survival-based instincts to protect ourselves and to guard ourselves and not put ourselves out there. When we're so identified with that, constriction, we don't feel a sense of lightness to our life. And we don't feel connected with our love. And we don't feel connected with abundance, because we're living in this scarce world where it's that us versus them, and you're in competition with everything, and everything is a struggle. Everything is a problem that needs to be solved, and they're never ending problems and all of that stuff. So yeah, that you don't have access to it. So let me get back into the whiteboard here. Share screen, whiteboard. So I want to illustrate, since we have this kind of new way of looking at the mind so you imagine, again, we've got I'm going to draw this again, 3D body, 4D, why is my pen not working? Mind. So imagine we're sitting in meditation, and this is going to be the worst stick figure ever. We're sitting in meditation, and our eyes are closed, and now our eyes are closed, and now we're kind of like directly experiencing our mind. And that could be, again, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations, and we can still be feeling the body and like all the five senses and all that in our body and stuff. But for the illustration of what I want to talk about here, let me get back. So in our 3D body, there is time happening. And again, I want to draw the present moment. There's time happening, and time is passing. So we're meditating for 20 minutes. And then what is actually happening in our mind during that time when we actually, I'm going to do this very simply, drawing the same thing extrapolated there. During our meditation, now we're in our mind, and now, how do I want to do this? So, yes, so we have a neutral thought. Actually, I'm going to do these in blue again. So we have a neutral thought. You'll get the point of this in a second. We had a good thought. Oh, bad thought. Really bad thought. Bad thought. Kind of good. Oh, super depressed. all of our thoughts are happening like this along whatever the axis is. And we're the observer to these thoughts. But the thing we don't realize is that what we're doing when we're identified, when we are feeling like we are the monkey mind, is that we are feeling like each one of these thoughts is us. And whatever they're saying, whatever negative things it's saying about us, all of that, we've been conditioned to feel like we are the thoughts that our mind is projecting in front of us, and that everything that is disempowering us, we've been like taught and conditioned to kind of be complacent to that. Whereas when we can get closer and closer to the present moment to actually feel the mechanism ourselves to create better thoughts, we can start to create our own upward spiraling momentum. And this is very broad. This can get a lot more detailed depending on like the type of people that I'm talking to, like the level at which people are, the type of group, you know, it has to be very broad because I don't know who I'm talking to when I'm doing this. But if I know who I'm talking to, this stuff gets a lot more kind of more specific and more powerful. But this is just a broad kind of beginner level approach to seeing what is happening in our mind on a very clear level so that we can start to change our patterns and change what is affecting us and ultimately lead us to freedom, like freedom from our thoughts, freedom from our mind, a quiet mind, a peaceful mind, unplugged from the matrix in a way, and no longer suffering with what the mind and the personalities are energetically holding us down with, holding our rocket down with. So I hope that makes sense. This is the first one of my kind of sharing my research and sharing my ideas in such a way to take them out of the philosophical and into the teaching realm of using them to help people and to share this new approach and new ideas. And I hope to do it more. But this is, so I think this is a good place to close it out, because the next step from here would be to start to see the difference between self-conscious and self-awareness. That's when things start to get super interesting, and that'll probably be my next video in this kind of Master Your Monkey Mind series, if you call it that, or whatever it ends up being. And this is definitely stuff that we'll be diving into in my mastermind program a lot for really overcoming anxiety, overcoming guilt and shame, and all of these self-conscious things. Because through the power of our own self-awareness, we can elevate our frequency, raise our vibrations, and ultimately empower our life to be, expert manifestors of whatever we want, to create whatever we want, to feel excitement and bliss and peace, happiness, joy, abundance, flow, like all of those higher frequency things start to become more available when you have an awareness of what your mind is and isn't, and how it's actually controlling aspects of your life and keeping you from connecting with your intuition. So I hope you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun doing it. I hope to be doing it more. I will be doing it more. And let me know if you have any questions. I love answering questions. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. So until next time, I hope you're inspired and have an awesome weekend. Bye, guys.